looks like I am live. Woo-hoo-hoo. Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 3, yes, 1, 2, 3, of the 3 Day Motivator, Healthy Living, Happy Life 3 Day Motivator. That is, I'm Denise Stegall. I am your host here of The Motivator. I'm also the CEO and curator at livinghealthylist.com, where truly this is where it all started, was at Living Healthy List, the website and wellness platform. And these are some of the things that I do to help you, up-level your health and wellness, to truly to empower you to take your life into your hands. And I know we talk about that a lot. People say that, your life is in your hands, but it is. So what are we talking about today? Let's just see. I'm here live on Facebook in the group. I think I'm live in the group. Let's just double check over here. If any of you ever do this, it's always kind of interesting. You pop back and forth from one Facebook group to the next, and just to double check. Okay, so I'm here and I am live. And what do I want to talk to you about today? Okay, yes, day 3, the 3-Day Motivator. I am so excited about this program, this 3-Day Motivator. I said in the beginning, it's not a challenge. Life is challenging enough. But sometimes we do need a little extra motivation to get us to do the things that we know we should do, or things that we've been putting off. So the basis of the Motivator is on this internationally best-selling book written by, yours truly. It's called Healthy Living, Happy Life. Imagine that. The subtitle here is a practical path to finding a healthy lifestyle that works for you. And again, emphasis on works for you. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. And that's okay. We're all individuals, and we need to make those decisions that work best for us and our families and our situations. Truly, without getting bogged down with diets and Google searches. Been there, done that, right? Dr. Google, Google EDU, that kind of thing. But also to make decisions without others telling us, you should do this. I mean, how many times has your mom said, you should really do this. You should really cut your hair. You should really stop eating that. And when people tell us what we should do, all of a sudden we're like, yep, even if it's the best advice, we don't want to listen. So this is important, because this is about you and what works for you, and truly what works for you, and really connecting with your inner self, your intuition, because I think what happens is so often we forget to listen to our intuition. We just don't hear it anymore. So this is 3 days to help you, or day 3 to help you connect with that, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. Let's see. The basis of the book and the basis of the Motivator is on what I call the foundation of success, and there are 3 pillars: eat real food, make good decisions, and be accountable. Now, day 1 we talked about eat real food. We discussed why you need to eat real food, what happens when you do and what you don't, and that specifically a diet is not about restriction and elimination. A diet is exactly what you eat. It just means what you eat. Like, I have a diet, a high fiber diet, or people that live in certain areas of the world, like the Mediterranean diet. That actually has become a quote unquote the diet with the bad word diet. But essentially all it means is people that live in the Mediterranean eat a certain way because the foods that are available to them, that's what they eat. So again, it's not about restriction or elimination. And I gave a handout. It's called Eat the Rainbow. And it basically tells you a little bit about each fruit or vegetable, like the different colors of the fruits and vegetables, why they're important, what nutrients that they have. And then on the last page is a check sheet. It's just, something to help you as you're moving forward, starting this or restarting a new healthy lifestyle, whatever it might be. So you can just check off each day. I ate a red veggie. I had blueberries today. I had a blue one. And even though it's simple, sometimes the simple things we just don't even do. We're like, it's so simple, like you don't do it. And once you start getting in the habit of, checking off all of the different foods that you're eating, you realize that it's a lot easier than you initially thought. Because I think when it comes to a healthy food philosophy, a healthy eating philosophy, everybody freaks out because we're always in diet mode. And my philosophy is not about restriction and elimination. I know I've said that about 3 times. So did you get that? Not about restriction and elimination. It's about eating real food. That's what we need to do. So that was day 1. Yesterday on day 2, we focused a little bit more on the second pillar. Obviously, day 1, first pillar, day 2, second pillar. And we talked about making good decisions. We make something like 35,000 decisions every day, according to Google, and over 200 of them are about real food, are about eating, or about food. So good thing we've already started to talk about that, because that's kind of motivating you to go, okay, yeah, I know how to make a good decision here. Let's have that, that grilled chicken breast over the piece of pizza, right? Okay, 80% of the time. If you missed day 1, you can catch day 1 in the replay in the Facebook group, or join me tomorrow for our bonus session. We're actually going to do that in Zoom. I like the way Zoom works. I know how to manage it a little better, and I have a presentation, not a presentation, but I have some slides that I'd like to share. So life is about making good decisions, right? And the decisions that you make, can either make or break your health and happiness. The decisions you make today could possibly, maybe they affect you in the short term, maybe they don't, but they could have long-term consequences. So you want to make the best decisions. Important to note, though, not every decision has to be earth-shattering. Oh my gosh. I think that's where we get stuck in paralysis, and then we don't make a decision. And essentially not making a decision is a decision. But if it's something that, like a healthy lifestyle, finding a new healthy lifestyle, getting a new job, whatever it might be, if you don't make a decision, you're stuck in the same place today, tomorrow, next week, next year, for the rest of your life. So making decisions is important, but we can't freak out every time we have a decision to make and get paralyzed. Sometimes it's just make a decision and move on. You can always pivot or course correct if need be. So the message yesterday was, yes, making good decisions is important, but also don't sweat the small stuff. I'm just going to take a look over here real quick, over in the Facebook chat. Here we are. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. Okay. No questions so far. So mostly because I'm just going over what we talked about yesterday and the day before. So again, if you need some more support on anything that I've talked about so far, one, you can always check out the replays, but definitely join me tomorrow for the bonus section, because I think the bonus session really pulls it together and will help you get to that next level. So what are we talking about today? Anyone? Bueller? Today's day 3. There are 3 pillars. Yep, third pillar. We're going to talk about third pillar. Or as I mentioned, like the first day, that third leg of the stool. If you don't remember me talking about that, go back and listen to day 1. It really kind of sets the tone for all of this. So that third pillar is, what is that third pillar, everyone? That third pillar is be accountable. Yes, accountability. How many of you are in an accountability group? Lots of people in accountability groups. Yep. Does it help? Maybe. Are you getting from it what you need? What? Sorry, my phone is ringing. The thing with accountability is most people don't understand what accountability is to start with. Accountability is not, it's more than just showing up at a meeting every week and, being there. But that's part of it. But they don't understand what accountability is, why it's important, or where to even start. So what does being accountable mean? Being accountable means that you claim your own actions. Simple. You can articulate the reasons behind them, and you take responsibility. This is the big part. You take responsibility for the outcome. Good, bad, or indifferent, right? Sometimes we do something and it's great. It really works. And other times, not so much. The accountability piece is to own it and say, I did this, didn't work out. I did this, I made this decision. Maybe it wasn't the best decision. I can course correct. I can make a different decision now. I can move on. Accountability is not something that is given to you. Even though there have been times when I worked in the corporate world, accountability was always part of the job. But what I found, if my managers weren't accountable, they weren't showing their accountability to the project or the program or whatever it might have been, why was I accountable? If they weren't, why was I? So it's not something that somebody can just give you and say, hey, you're accountable for this. If it's a job, it's part of your job description. But still, this is something that you need to take on and own yourself. Right? So you take a job and you're accountable for X, Y, Z. You need to get that work done if you want to get paid, right? Or not get fired. But it's more about obviously getting it done, but it's about you getting it done or finding a way to get it done, right? So think about this. How much of your success in life, love, health, do you think you are actually accountable for? Your decisions, your actions, your behaviors, do they all contribute? I actually think of when I just said that, I thought of the 3 pillars: eat real food, make good decisions, be accountable. So I'm going to say, yes, there is a big part of each part of your life, each element of your life that you are absolutely responsible for. Accountability is the difference between your successes and your failures, no matter in what area of your life it is. And when you don't take accountability, think about this. Things start to fall apart. They start to go awry. And when they do, you start to blame, you have negative thoughts, and despair sets in. If you don't take ownership, accountability, you end up going into kind of spectator mode, and you kind of watch to see how things fall apart. We don't want that. Now think about it. It could be a new healthy habit. It could be a relationship. It could be a career. When things start to go bad, if we're not accountable, one, to ourselves, first and foremost, it has to be accountable to you. And we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But the accountability piece, if you're not accountable to you first and foremost, you can't be accountable to other people. Even though most women will say to me, well, sure, I'm accountable. I'm accountable to my family. I'm accountable to my boss. I'm accountable to my spouse. I'm accountable to all these things. But they leave out the number one person. They're not accountable to themselves. And that's why, at some point, we're 20 pounds overweight. We're not exercising. We're not sleeping because we're not accountable to the person who most matters to start with. So I think that's really important to remember that accountability starts here. And I love this. You already have the ability 100% to be responsible for your life and the outcomes in your life. Everyone does. Most of us either don't realize that truth, whether it's because of circumstance or just never really thinking it through very well, that we forget that we actually hold the power to manage and create the lives that we dream of. That healthy, happy life that you're dreaming of, you can do it. You have the power. You've got the power, okay? And I know that sounds kind of woo-woo, you have the power to create the life you want. And a lot of people say, yeah, they get stuck in their circumstances. Denise, you just don't understand, blah, blah, blah. Been there, done that. How many times have you fallen on your face? A couple times, right? Picked yourselves up. Yeah, I've been there too. I've done that. Yeah. And I had picked myself up and went, yeah, I made a couple of wrong decisions there. Maybe I won't do that again. And years later, I find myself in the place that I am today. Bad decisions in the past, maybe just not bad decisions, just not the best decisions for me. But when I started to really take ownership and be accountable to the decisions that I was making, and really being accountable to myself and who I was, what I wanted, my core values, my boundaries, all of those things started to fall into place. But I had to be accountable to me first. And I do believe that the most common reason that we fail when it comes to accountability is self-sabotage. It's not like we intend consciously to sabotage our dreams. It's something much more subconscious that we haven't addressed. And I've heard many times through my years in coaching is that many of these negative thoughts, these self-sabotaging thoughts that kind of play in our heads, go back to when we were children. Like children between the ages of 0, like not even like 2 brain cells really understanding how to work, and 7 years old. Whoa, that's a big deal. But before you even 7, there were negative thoughts going into your head. And it's because of the people who have said things to us. Not that they intentionally put negative thoughts in, but think about it. Before you're 7 years old, before we even understand how to really think for ourselves, others have hijacked our subconscious. Maybe they said we weren't pretty. Maybe they said we weren't fast enough. Maybe they said, well, you can't do that. You're a girl. Like all of those things that people say that on the surface, like it's not really a big deal, but oh man, it's a big deal when you take it to heart and it gets really stuck in your subconscious. And for most people, just talking about it or working through it on a worksheet, which I will have for you in a second, really helps. For other people, it might be useful, if there's some really deep-seated things to seek the help of an expert, whether that expert is in the medical field or that expert is a coach. Absolutely, this is something that coaches work on with clients. So I think it's really important to know that there is help out there. If you're stuck and you're just not moving forward, that there is help out there. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Self-Sabotage Worksheet. And this is something that I think is really important. Again, with Healthy Living, Happy Life. And tomorrow, if you're on the Zoom, you will get a copy of this in the mail, not just an e-copy or ebook. You will get a copy of this book in the mail. And in the book, you will find that there is, maybe I can find it, there is a QR code. Isn't that cool? Little QR code there. And the QR code goes to different worksheets or resources that I find are really useful when I've worked with clients in certain areas. So the Self-Sabotage Worksheet really is simple. It talks a little bit about, what self-sabotage is, that we actively or passively take steps or do nothing to prevent our goals. There's something else going on there. Some of the thoughts that we may have, I don't have enough willpower to do that diet. We don't do diets here, right? We don't do diets. We don't eliminate. We don't cut full food groups out. We eat real food. Oh, I don't have the time. Oh my gosh, everybody says they don't have the time to do XYZ. We all have 24 hours in the day. That is an excuse that, maybe you've heard from other people. They tell you that, another one, I'm too old to do this. Too old to do what? You're still living, right? You're still breathing. So these are some of the thoughts that those self-sabotaging thoughts that go into our minds. And maybe, that last one, I'm too old. You hear people say that all the time, like as they've gotten older, they slow down. Well, slow down is one thing. No, don't slow down. Change what you're doing. So this is all about change and growing and really finding that lifestyle that works for you. You may be 50 years old and have never found that lifestyle. Well, you could potentially be living another 50 years. Do we want to do that in a very positive, healthy, happy way, or are you content with where you are now? I bet most of you who are here, you are not content with where you are now. So it just goes through, what are some of your self-sabotaging thoughts? How do you self-sabotage yourself? Who do you spend time with? Are they negative Nellies, or are they, your cheerleaders? And none of this is brand new, but I do believe that the more often we look at this and put it in perspective, in a step-by-step kind of system, that it makes more sense than doing things kind of random and willy-nilly. And then another piece of this, and I think this is really important, is to focus on your why. Why do you want to live a healthy, happy lifestyle? Why is that important to you? And it has to be something more than, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds. And we talked about that a bit yesterday when it comes with Make Good Decisions. We talked about smarter goals, those goals that, we've all done SMART goals, but the last two is exciting and relevant. And I think that's where we've gone wrong in the past with a lot of SMART goals. But again, very measurable. That I think is one of the most important parts of that. If you just have a goal that's, kind of like this big open-ended goal, you never achieve it. If you know specifically, incrementally what that goal is, you can build on that. So that is really, it's not a long worksheet, but I do believe it's a really important worksheet. And it's something that you should do, kind of sit quietly somewhere and go through. Now, where can you find that worksheet? You can find that worksheet, one, in the Facebook group under files. They're all there. There's a Facebook post also. Each time I uploaded one, a post went out. So you can find them there. You can find them in the file section. And of course, today, after I'm finished here, I will send an email to everyone who has signed up for the Motivator. So you get those, you'll get the replay and you'll get the handout. There's one additional handout I'm going to add to that, and it's called I Am. Yep, it's just simply called I Am. And this is a great exercise to actually do before you do the self-sabotage worksheet. When you do this, it puts you in a positive mindset and emphasizes your core values. Sometimes I think when it comes to our core values, we know what they are, but life gets in the way, circumstances get in the way. Other people, kind of influence us. Sorry. And when that happens, sometimes our values, like their values, get put on us and we forget ours. So whatever it might be, whether it's, circumstances, past failures, or listening to others, and not listening to your intuition. Again, this is kind of coming back. All of this comes back to your intuition and what is best for you. The I Am worksheet, and it basically just is I am, and you fill out, what are you, who are you? Like, I am powerful, I am strong, I am resilient. Yes, you are. Believe in yourself. So do that first, and then do the sit down and do the other worksheet, self-sabotage worksheet. Let's see. So I believe, and I know this is true, that accountability is more than an innate ability. Accountability, it's more than that. But it is a skill set that you can learn and master. It's just another one of those things that you just need to think about. We don't really think about accountability in this way. We know if we go to work, we have a job to do and we do it, right? Well, you're accountable. But you don't think about it. Well, you have this job because, you have a family and, you need to pay your bills and, you want to be able to eat good food and do all of those things. So the accountability piece is we kind of don't think of it that way. We just think we need to get a job and I have to work and I need a paycheck, all of that. All of this really does boil down to accountability. So how do you learn? And I'm just going to give you these quick steps. And these will be, you can download the replay and write these down. I absolutely recommend writing these down. So how do you become accountable? How do you build that muscle? Think of it that way. All of this is just like working out and building muscle. You have to do it. You have to practice it in order to do so. Before I go there, I'm going to pop back over here and look for thoughts and questions here. Okay. Okay, very good. Question. Okay, so essentially, All of this, again, is all in the Facebook group, and you will get an email today with all of the information for today. Okay? Awesome. So we are going to build our accountability muscle. How are we going to do that? Number one, this is so obvious. I've said this so many times. Take responsibility. Responsibility is a way of thinking and being. Be responsible to you and your failures and your successes. Most importantly, your successes are in your own hands. Even when you're blindsided by unforeseen circumstances, you are still the master of your own fate. And I do believe when you go through the I am statement and go through the self-sabotage, that you will notice that your core values are so much easier. Like once you know what they are, again, you're reminded. When you get blindsided by something, you can pick up and start over, and you're fine. It may take a minute. Brush yourself off, whatever it might be, and you can move forward. So number one, take responsibility. Number two, don't make excuses. Accountability is not about making excuses. And I think it's important. It's really easy to say, I'm accountable when things are good. When things don't work out as planned, sometimes, that's where blame and shame and, kind of pushing it off may happen. Don't do that. Make a decision, stand by it, be accountable, and own it. Own it, good, bad, or indifferent. Own it. Number three, do what you say you will do. You are what you do, not what you say you are going to do. And that's a quote by C.G. Jung. Doing what you say is so much more important than just say, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and then you never follow through. Follow through, that's a whole different story. But when you say you're going to do something, do it. I'm going to work out 5 days a week for half an hour. Do it. Another thing is to tell somebody that you're going to do it, because then there's an extra layer of accountability. Number four, control your destiny. I am a big proponent of this. Proper planning and a positive attitude can help you succeed in any situation. And again, we'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow during the bonus section. And I think this part is really important. If you just say, okay, yeah, I'm going to be accountable for something. If you don't plan it out, say you're going to work out 5 days a week, for 30 minutes. If you don't plan out how you're going to do that, what time are you going to go? What are you going to wear? Are you going to do it at home? Are you going to go to the gym? Are you going to run outside? All of those things take a little bit of planning. So control your destiny by actually getting to that next level and planning. Number five, manage expectations. Be clear about what your expectations are. Whether it's expectations to you, also let other people know what you are doing and what's expected. Also, set yourself a reasonable time. So again, as I mentioned a second ago in my example, I'm going to work out 5 days a week for 30 minutes. Because this week I haven't been feeling well, I'm not going to go to the gym, so I'm going to work out at home. I'm going to do that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, all of that, I've got that down. I'm going to put that in my calendar. So I'm going to manage my own expectations. If I don't put it in the calendar and plan for it, it's never going to happen. How many of you use a Google Calendar or any kind of calendar where you go, okay, before you go to bed at night, you look at it and go, okay, this is what I'm doing tomorrow. First thing in the morning when you wake up, first thing you should do is take a look at that. Again, this is how you can be accountable and do all of the things that I'm saying now. The last thing is to collaborate. And I am a huge proponent of collaboration. LivingHealthyList.com is a collaboration with other health and wellness experts to provide honest, reliable, and unbiased information in health and wellness. I can't do it all on my own, so I collaborate with others to be successful. Ask for help when you need to. I do. Recruiting help is a smart and healthy, because we want to be healthy, solution to avoid several things. Overwhelm. Yeah, when we want to create a new healthy, happy lifestyle and we're trying to be accountable to ourselves, it can get overwhelming. Don't let it get overwhelming. We do one step at a time, baby steps. But still, if you need help, ask. Avoid overwhelm. By asking for help, you also increase some flexibility in your schedule. I think this is really important. So say you're going to go to the gym, I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'm going to go to the gym. I have a friend who likes to go to the gym, whatever the gym may be. I'm going to go with her. And rather than me having to drive over there, she's going to come and pick me up, and we'll get to go together, whatever that might be. But I do believe that accountability is, collaboration when it comes to finding your healthy, happy lifestyle and being accountable to yourself and then to others. Collaboration is essential. Bring your family in. I mean, if like I have my husband, I guess I collaborate with him on a daily basis because we talk about, our needs and expectations. I know what I'm accountable for in the home. He knows what he's accountable for outside. But we also know what we are accountable for to ourselves. Like I know today my workout will be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I know that. Mark might not get home until later, so if he gets a chance, he may come home and work out at noon. So that's his accountability to himself. But if I'm on a call at noon and he's trying to work out, that doesn't quite work out so well. So the collaboration within your family is really important too. So just to go through that one more time real quick. Take responsibility, number 1. Number 2, don't make excuses. Number 3, do what you say you're going to do. Number 3, control your destiny with planning. Manage your expectations and collaborate. Now, I absolutely know that accountability is a part of your life you cannot ignore. Again, most of us say we're accountable to everyone and everything and ignore the most important person in the world, ourselves. I urge you to, be accountable, be true to yourself, honest with yourself, and most importantly, never give up on yourself. When you are accountable to you and you first, you can then be accountable to your family, to your work, to your community, and truly live that healthy, happy lifestyle that you have been searching to find. Now, I hope you guys have downloaded all of the worksheets from day 1, 2, and 3. They're here in the Facebook group, and again, you'll get them on email. And I want all of you to join me tomorrow on Zoom, and I have the Zoom number here. I'm going to make sure I post that here in the Facebook group, but also obviously it'll be in that email that you get in a little bit today. And truly the reason for this is to pull it all together. Eat real food, make a decisions, be accountable. We just touched on the surface of each one of those. Tomorrow we'll go through a little bit more and kind of go through steps like how can we do this? What are some of the ways that we can plan better and make sure that these are pieces that we can incorporate into our lives starting today. I hope on day 1 you started incorporating real foods into your diet. I helped you to do that with the Eat the Rainbow worksheet. Yesterday, make good decisions. Again, we talked about why decision making is important and how to make some good decisions. And again, that not all decisions are earth shattering. Just make a decision and move on. And now today, we talked about accountability and why that is important for you to live the healthy, happy lifestyle that works for you. Again, we are talking about you, not everybody else. That's great. Everybody can do their own thing. This is about you. So I will see you here tomorrow on Zoom. And again, I will add this in here. If you guys have any questions about what we talked about today or in the last few days, please make a comment in the Facebook group and we will have the discussion there. I will see you tomorrow. The 3 Day Motivator, healthy, I can't even say it, Healthy Living, Happy Life 3 Day Motivator bonus session on Zoom tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. I will see you there. Have a great day, everyone.